And I feel really fortunate to introduce you to a humanist, a pacifist, and an internationally recognised cognitive metaphor scholar, Professor Andreas Musolff from the University of East Anglia. By way of some background, Andreas Musolff is Professor of Intercultural Communication at the University of East Anglia in the United Kingdom. And since 1990, he's worked in the UK as a lecturer and professor in German language studies at Aston University, Birmingham, and Durham University. And since 2010, as Professor of Intercultural Communication at the University of East Anglia in Norwich. His research interests focus on cognitive metaphor studies, intercultural and multicultural communication, and on public discourse analysis. Andreas has published especially on figurative language in the media and in the public sphere in general. I've got on the slide his publications, but they include the monographs Political Metaphor Analysis, Discourse and Scenarios, 2016, Metaphor, Nation and the Holocaust, 2010, Metaphor and Political Discourse, 2004, and the co-edited volumes Metaphor and Intercultural Communication, 2014. The list goes on. Welcome, Andreas. I will just stop sharing and let you introduce your title. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Alison and Kathleen and all the organizers and over 100 participants who are still at this workshop. I can only admire you. I'm joining you from Germany, where it's 12 noon. And so I hope you'll bear with me, and I hope you can hear me in the first place. Can you hear me? Okay. Then I'll start sharing my PowerPoint. Which should be this one. And I'm trying to make it into a real PowerPoint, if that works. Can you see anything?
Yes, we can see the PowerPoint. It's
you
showing,
can see the PowerPoint. Okay.
It's showing the side slides and the main slide.
Ah, yeah. So the start slide should be this one. I would like to present you with some evidence from a survey which initially focused mainly on metaphors and had a focus of cross-cultural comparison, namely how the metaphor lexicalized as a body politic was interpreted in different cultures. As I had more than 2,000 participants from all over the world, I was lucky to find also information from, sorry, there should be something, there's something funny going on with the.
Are you able to, Andreas, make it to full screen just of the single slide?
Well, I've tried to do that. Don't you see just a single screen? This is the the slide.
We're seeing the single screen, but I think for yeah, it's not in presentation mode.
Oh, I see. I'm sorry that I have to stop share for a moment.
It just
So,
if you go into slideshow, just up the top.
yeah, I tried to do that, but for some reason it's not working, possibly because I'm trying to operate. Usually, this is again the slide and the side slides, isn't it?
It's on presenter. Okay, so it's on presenter view. If that works for you, we can all see it.
Yeah, okay. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
So there was this survey with over 2,000 respondents, and a little bit more than 10% happened to be migrant nationals, i.e. students who were studying in a country different from their own origin. And of these, 71 respondents, i.e. 1/3, highlighted explicitly immigration and immigration-related issues, or diversity issues in a larger sense. We'll see a few examples in a moment, in their interpretations of the nation as body metaphor. So just to clarify it, the survey had nothing to do as such and did not ask explicitly anything about migration, but 71 respondents chose deliberately to interpret the nation as body metaphor in such a way as to highlight migration issues. Okay. The topics they highlighted were the 6 from A to F listed on this slide. So the main thing was their perception of their own international identity, but they also spoke about their host nation, so to speak. They also highlighted issues of xenophobia. And then there were students who spoke about immigration, as well as others who spoke about emigration and the perception of minorities and cultural diversity in general, all in forms of the metaphor construction. So to give you a first flavor of this, here you have 2 quotations, one from a British person in Australia who says, "Australia belongs to the heart, but Scotland is in my feet, as though it were the roots grounding me." Or another one, an Israeli in America, "I feel the US is like a stomach, always wanting to consume and in need of digesting the many substances that come our way. But Israel is my second home and is the palm of my hand. It can be opened and closed." And it's pretty obvious where the emotional attachment lies. Another one, and this provided the title for this talk, is by a Romanian who is studying at an Italian university. "I've currently been living in Italy for 10 years now, and if I were to describe my life here in terms of a human body, I'd say I feel like gut bacteria." When I first read that, I had a real shock. But then it comes in the sense that even though I don't consider myself part of the body as a muscle cell might be, I still feel pretty comfortable and integrated inside the system as a productive and relatively comfortable organism. So here you have a very unique, I would say, interpretation of the idea of bacteria in a body politic. In many cases, one might suspect, when first encountering this would express extreme self-deprecation if it was uttered by a speaker, or indeed a kind of racist, dismissive attitude by a xenophobic person against migrants as gut bacteria. But then comes this sophisticated interpretation, which turns it around and makes it possible for the speaker to say he's comfortable, and he feels comfortable and integrated as a productive organism. So this is obvious, someone who knows a lot about gut bacteria and has few prejudices. There are also some that, this is the next example, where a student from one country studying in another country speaks about a third country. So this Burkina Faso citizen studying in the United States speaks about the relationship between Burkina Faso and France, and says, my country is like a person that has a heavy push on his head while his body is in the water, and puts it down to colonialism. And even adds this little cartoon to explain it. I don't know whether you can see it. It's actually the head of a person being pushed by the hand. France, you can see the caption perhaps, pushing that head in the water and basically drowning that person. So pretty dramatic self-construction as a drowning person. Then you have migrants' perceptions of their new country and their new national identity. So these are usually very positive. So a Sri Lankan in New Zealand says New Zealand is a young body, small and kind of rugged. She's wild, her hair messy, dirt under her fingernails. Her appearance is somewhat messy, relaxed. She doesn't wear shoes. It seems slightly confusing, but generally it's quite sympathetic. And you have an emphatic love declaration by a German living in Italy at an Italian university, saying Italy is as hot and soft as a mother's hug. Here you have something similar from a Turkish student at a German university. Germany is the heart of Europe, since the heart is a place where all other parts are connected to and get the oxygen that is needed from. In a similar manner, Germany isn't only the geographic center of Europe, but also the one that combines the differences between the East and the West. So this is at least high praise, if not as emotional as the German in Italy one, or the Romanian in Italy that we had before. Sorry, there is something happening with my slides again. There are also examples of migrants' perceptions of xenophobia. So Romanian student saying Romania and Romanians as a nation are seen as a convict. Another one saying we are seen as a parasite, and instead we should be seen as a vital organ of the European community. So even though they are back at a Romanian university, they evidently have had experiences of xenophobia when they were migrants in another country. Then you have insiders' perception of immigrants. So these are also interestingly all positive. They are from roughly the last 5 years, and they all portray the home country as being welcoming and friendly and helpful to the immigrants. So either that's conceptualized as a part of the body, the hands and eyes of Europe, because we are helping the immigrants, or as a person. And in this case, the German says the immigrants are making Germany a mixed and colorful person, so enhancing the national personality. Likewise, a Greek student saying the Greek nation gives a hug to the immigrants. Algerians say, like soft hands, Algeria is welcoming immigrants. And Portuguese as well. Portugal opened its arm to immigrants. So the self-perception of people in the seeing themselves as representing the host of migrants usually do so in a very positive light. In contrast, as we have seen, to the experiences of xenophobia by people who have been migrants. Then as a further category, there are some responses that actually highlight the status of minorities and cultural diversity in their country. So there is one Australian who says, Australia, the heart of Australia lies both in those who have immigrated as well as those who are Aboriginal, and then gives a further political comment. The heads of the government, which also belong, of course, to the body politic, are not aware of part of the heart being the Aboriginals.
5 more minutes, Andreas.
Yes?
5 more minutes.
5 more minutes, thank you. And here we have a Turkish person also praising the minorities in the country as adding to the national body politic and person body person body. And lastly, you have we found also evidence of explicit semitizations of emigration, which are usually pretty negative, because emigration is perceived as losing weight, losing an organ, losing your legs for the nation concerned. So we have seen evidence of, these are of course only a taster of the 70 plus answers that we found. Overall, they give expression to a mixed or split body or personality identity. They express marginality and victimization with images of bacteria, parasites, and convicts. They serve to express solidarity and identification with the host country. They emphasize the home country's welcoming attitude to immigrants. They emphasize cultural diversity and praise it usually, and regret about the loss through emigration. So summarizing the lot, in the first place, we can say, which will come as no surprise to metaphor researchers like you, that the use and the interpretation of metaphors is very closely linked to national, collective, as well as personal identity construction. And the vast majority of these migrants' answers can be located near the highly deliberate end of the deliberate conventional spectrum, often combining their categorization as a body or person part with strong evaluations and special pragmatic effects like irony. And this seems to indicate a high level of pragmatic social consciousness of what they are doing. They are very emphatic and very explicit about it. And therefore, it seems, this is the last point, that these insights, which were a byproduct of a larger project, not initially focused on that, they could be applied to further research on self-identity construction by migrants, rather than such research focusing on their construction by politicians and media as the other and all the stuff connected with that, as well as in practical counseling and in support system for migrants. Okay, there are a few references here. Thank you very much.